Welcome to Courageous Living. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and on this show, I strive to help you get courageous in everything you do. Today's show is going to be great. We're going to be talking about winning at everything you do. More so, how to be a champion at everything you do. Because let's face it, we all have trials, we all have challenges, we face all sorts of difficulties in our life, but what does it take to win? What does it take to be a champion? Well, on today's show, you're going to find out just what it takes. So don't go anywhere, because right after this, we're going to show you how to be a champion. Welcome back to Courageous Living. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and I want to welcome my guest, Miss Joan Wilson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here with me today. And you are a very dynamic woman. You consider yourself the business corner woman. What does that mean?
Well, here's the thing. I think in all things, most people typically know somebody that's been in their corner. So when you think about business, some people are stopping and starting, but if they have the right person in their corner, they can win. And that's just very important, that you have the right person in your corner. Not just anybody, but the right person.
Right. No, and I totally agree with you, because I've, been in business for several years, and without certain people in my corner, I don't think that I'll be where I am today without those certain people.
Absolutely.
And so you're that person who is going to champion people on with their business and with their personal lives. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things is that, we all have personal issues. We may have problems on the job. But what I will say is that you cannot have everybody in your corner. Some people you have to get out of your corner. They may be a good support for you, but they can't help you get to the next level. Right. Because every coach, as when you want to go up higher, you need another coach. Because think about what you're doing here. Even with Oprah, who was an anchor person, I would promise you the person that was coaching Oprah as an anchor person is not coaching Oprah. So that's what, as you go through the different levels, you need the right person that has the skill set to take you to the next level, sustain you there, and possibly hand you off to the next person.
That is so good. And I love it when you say you need that right person to take you to the next level. And those people may change over time, but really having that person that can anchor you and get you even started is what we all need in our lives.
Absolutely.
Now, today we're really talking about how to win. How to win in your everyday life, how to win at the things that we do, the goals that we want to accomplish and stuff like that. But I know for a fact that a lot of us have a lot of challenges and the personal obstacles in our life. And you too have had a lot of personal obstacles in your life before you're even sitting here, in these chairs with me.
I have.
Tell me about that, because it's a very riveting story.
It is. You see, I took that little breath, to be able to get through it, because see, now today I can talk about it. And that's where you have to get through the pain of it. I'm not saying that not to stay and work through the pain, but you will get through it. So a couple years ago, and I always say that January is my birthday, because I actually survived a severe brain injury.
Wow.
I found myself at home. I was getting dizzy. I was feeling a lot of pain in my chest, shortness of breath. And when I stood up, let's fast forward an hour. I don't know what happened between that hour. Wow. But I just thank God that I was able to sit here today and say that, it appeared that I was knocked out. But I believe that I was just simply knocked down to be able to use that story to help other people, because I had to lock arms with some people.
Okay, so you said that you had passed out, so tell me go into further detail about that, because wow.
You saw me take that little breath, right?
Yes.
Because that's how I had to work through the pain to even be able to tell the story. Because I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember what I was doing prior to. You know, sometimes we take our work home with us. And so it was about 9 o'clock, and I was starting to wind down. And I said, okay, let me take a sleeping pill. And that's where I tell people, I don't encourage them to take any medication. They need to go to their doctor. But just to impress upon you the story was that, you know, I was starting to wind down. And I go to one of the rooms in my home, and it's like a nice little tranquil area where I can start to wind down. But I was on the computer still. So I was sending a couple emails, waiting to get a little drowsy so I can go into my other room and go to sleep. And I started feeling a pain in my chest. And I said, oh, that's not good. And, you know, your body will give you some warnings of something's wrong. And so when I stood up, I realized which room I was in, and I said, wow, there's not very much room back here. I need to get out of this room. And so when I fast forward an hour, when I woke up, you know, all of us have seen the movie Carrie. Right. My entire platform, about 3 feet in diameter, was covered with blood. Wow. Apparently I had fallen, and I had cracked my skull open from here to here, but I couldn't figure out where the blood was coming from. It was everywhere, because, you know, in your profession, you know that the higher extremities bleed out, and I just didn't know it was everywhere. Wow. And when I realized it, my homeowner that I bought he and I bought the home together, he was actually downstairs. So he was actually in the home. Wow. And, you know, I kept calling his name. And finally, when he got up there, he was like, wow, you've been calling my name for about 5 minutes. And when he got to the platform, he was like, wow, what did you do? Now, at that point, I sobered up. You know, because I was like, wow, what did I do? I don't know. And it was, I could see the shock in his face and what was going on.
You know, so he wasn't scared of seeing all the blood, like something had happened to you? That's what I would have been scared and nervous about.
Yeah, he was, and he was very concerned. But you remember I had taken a sleeping pill, so I'm still very much sedated. And I stood up, and at that point, everything started gushing. Wow. And he was like, listen, please, just, you know, I need you to get still. And I said, no, I need to know what happened. You know, because I'm trying to rationalize, like, you know, what happened to me. And then he said, listen, we need to get you to the hospital. And that's when I went into the, you know, because your parents tell you, you know, don't go to the hospital with. So, you know, I was making sure I was all cleaned up beside the blood. And that's when I saw that all of the matter, where I had cracked it completely open. Wow. So next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital.
Oh my God, that, like, I can't even imagine that. That right there is just a very, if I didn't know, you know, like that could be real, that would be like a very unreal story. And so take me from, okay, now you're in the hospital, you have this major head injury, and, you know, what was that process like, going, like a recovery process like?
Not even more so the recovery of just waking up and I'm seeing my blood pressure going down. I hear a lot of beeping, and I'm looking around, and then I feel this tugging on my scalp, and I'm like, I looked at the young lady. I said, I take it that you're a doctor. What's going on? And she said, can you feel that? And I said, yes. And she went over, and I'm telling you, if I hadn't already passed out, I would have all over again. That was the biggest needle I had ever seen in my life. And she started numbing my scalp so they could restaple my scalp closed. And I started panicking, and I said, listen. I said, number one, in this order, God help me. Number two, get my sons here immediately. And number three, I need my cell phone. And they're like, 4 doctors that we can't give you your cell phone. I need my cell phone. And I text my doctor. See, sometimes you have to know who you're connected with, because see, you might be a winner right now, but you want to get through that and be a champion, be able to tell that story. And I text her, and I remember her texting me back and said, who gave you a cell phone, and that was it. By that time, all of the doctors in that hospital, it was all hands on Joan.
Wow.
She had called into the emergency room, and they were all working on for me to survive.
Wow. Wow. I'm just so amazed at just how at some points during this whole ordeal you were coherent, and then you were not coherent.
Right.
It was kind of like moments of clarity in your life.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. How did the recovery process go?
The recovery process went with knowing what I live for. You know, we talk about having confidence and being courageous. I knew that I needed my sons, and at the point where my blood pressure was dropping and I felt like I was slipping away, I kept looking from the curtain to the machines, but then I had a sense of calmness. I knew they were in the hospital somewhere, and when they pulled that curtain back, my blood pressure leveled to this day.
Wow.
And, you know, although they took me over to shock trauma from one hospital to another, it then, you know, about a week after that, you know, the neurologist comes in and says, well, you know, you've suffered a severe brain injury. You won't have any sense of normalcy in your life. You're not going to be able to think as you normally do. And at that point, I said, well, wait a minute. I'm going to need my brain. Is that what you're telling me? My brain is impacted. He said, severely. And so I locked arms with my sons, and not with the neurologist, but with my doctor, because my doctor is a female Christian doctor. And that's very rare that I found somebody to get in my corner and said, listen, I'll tell you how far you can go. I'll tell you when to stop. I'll withhold the medicines. And then my sons were there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. And they took care of me, helped me walk and talk. And then I said, you know, I don't feel like I'm getting any better. So I signed up for an executive MBA program. I had just finished a master's a year prior to. And I said, well, I'm going to put this brain to the test.
Wow.
And I finished that in exactly 10 months on top of that brain injury.
Are you serious?
I am very serious.
So you are still in the process of recovering from this traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
And you've already gone home, been released, and your sons are there to help and support you and everything. But you didn't feel like you were really doing much better, making a lot of progress in your life, so you went back to school.
Yeah, because they sent me home, and, you know, sometimes we get a bad report and we accept that. I wasn't willing to accept that. And I said, well, wait a minute, you know, let's really see. And, you know, do I still have episodes of passing out? I do.
Wow.
But I don't accept that. You know, it's not going to debilitate me to the point of affecting my mind, because that's where we're all in a fight, but it's just not playing out in the ring.
Wow.
You have to win that.
I love that, because you did not accept that this was going to ruin your life. Like you said, no, this is not going to ruin your life. At some point during this whole process, did you feel like you were going to be defeated? Like, were you down on some days?
I was to the point where I like being active. I like being, you know, in control of my life. At that point, I wasn't in control of my life. So my mother's side of the family, all doctors and nurses, and they kept saying, you know, we want to come and check on you. I said, really? Sometimes you got to call some people out on some things. And so I end up hosting 20 women in my home, all my mother's sisters and their daughters, and I turned my house into a retreat. And I said, that's where the Corner Woman concept came from, is when you can get the right people in your corner, you can survive some things.
Right.
And we all got together, and I paired each one in the room up as a corner woman. You don't have to say what you're going through. You just have to be there for that person.
And I love that, because especially at a time like that, you truly, truly needed some people to be in your corner at such a horrific time where you are recovering from this, but you also want more for your life. And I think that is so amazing. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about that. So when we come back, don't go anywhere, because the conversation just got started. I'm with Joan Wilson, and we are going to be talking about so many more amazing things as it concerns how you can win in your life every day. welcome back to Courageous Living. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and I'm here with my guests, Joan Wilson and Joan. Okay, so we are really getting into this conversation. Before we went on break, you were really talking about how the idea of the Corner Woman got started. You invited a lot of girlfriends to your house, paired them up to really support each other. And I truly think that supporting one another, whether you're a man or woman, is totally important. And it really helps us reach our dreams. For you, how did that play a part in just your recovery from this traumatic brain injury and moving forward?
Well, again, we talked about having the right people in your corner. So sometimes we can have winners, and you know, we talked about being a winner.
Exactly.
And I want to tell you that there is a difference between a winner and a champion. Because, you know, right now we're during the time of the Olympics, and we know the Olympic gymnast champion, which is Gabby Douglas. Well, there was two little girls behind her, but we don't remember their names. Now, they are also winners, but we always remember a champ. And so when I started going through this recovery, I connected with people that I felt that were champions in my life. You know, one was God, my sons, my doctor, my family, a very good friend of mine, William, and then also my girlfriend is a 5-time world boxing champion. And I was just like, okay, so if you want to get from being a winner, I felt like I was up against the ropes, then I needed to connect with that champion. And, you know, I would call her and say, Israel, you know, I'm not doing well. But when the calls started coming the other way, and then she became that person in my corner that's saying, listen, you've got to mentally think of this thing, and you've got to keep getting up every single day. And so I kept doing that, and I decided that I was not just going to win, I was going to champion every single thing that they put in front of me that they said I couldn't win at.
Wow, and I love that, the whole thing of being a champion, because if your shirt, you have like a boxing glove on your shirt, and it's all about really being a champion. And you talk a lot about confidence in everything that you do. What is confidence for a person who really needs it, and how do we find it?
Well, see, for me, confidence it's not a feeling. A lot of people say, you know, confidence makes me feel good, you know, but it's an action. Because, see, you can do nothing. You've confidently taken an action. Wow. But when you confidently say, you know what, I'm not going to take this, I'm going to get up, I'm going to move. That's why some people are able to reach another level, because it's their level of confidence, because they take an action. Wow. Because without that action, you can feel good all you want to, but you have to move forward. And that's what I like about boxing. Because, you know, boxers, the name of the game is, they already know they're going to get hit, but they're getting hit in a forward motion. And that's how we have to do in our lives, is know that there may be challenges, there may be situations, but when you know that, okay, I know that, but I'm not going to be afraid to show up for my own self-inflicted fight. You know, a lot of the fights that we have, we're picking upon ourselves, and it's a mental game.
It is. I love that. I love that, because it is a mental game. I always say that we have to have that mental toughness.
Yes.
Meaning we don't let circumstances affect the things that we do, because if we did, some of us wouldn't get up and go to work in the morning, and we wouldn't follow our dreams or try to reach our goals on a regular basis if we don't have that kind of mental toughness.
Absolutely.
And so I love it that you say that the reason why you like boxing is because you know that you're going to get hit. And I think that's so important in life. I talk about, you know, overcoming obstacles a lot, but more so anticipating that there is going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. And there are some challenges that you can't anticipate, because me falling was like the third knockdown. The first one was I had my kidney removed. Wow. The second one was I asked for the right mate for my life. And, you know, God gave me that young man. And then he died 7 years into the marriage. So for people that say that, you know, this thing is going to knock me out, you know, what I like best about my pastor, he always says, Pastor Battle always says, you have to grieve at the magnitude of the loss. So even though I was able to bounce back. It took time because I had to get over the fact that I blessed him with what I thought was a gift of the motorcycle that he had the accident on. So you've got to get through some things, and you have to have, when I say you have to have somebody in your corner, I'm talking about people that have some staying power, that's not going to get tired of you crying, that's not going to get tired of you saying, you know, look, I done fell, I can't seem to get back up, but giving you that level of confidence. Because even when a fighter, and that's why I like the Corner Woman, is that, you know, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Even when he went back to the corner, if he had fallen, if he had, you know, even gotten knocked out in the process, the Corner Woman and the Corner Man, my sidekick, never said, hey, loser. You speak right back into them what the original intent was, to see their name as a champion. So you say, hey, champ, we've got a goal to make, and that's how I work a lot with people, is just letting them know, okay, so we got to work through that.
Absolutely. I so love that, because, you know, you really bring it home when you say, okay, you can get knocked out, knocked down, kicked to the curb, all these different things, but when you go back to that corner, what are your people going to be saying? What are the people who are supposed to be supporting you saying to you to motivate you to get back out?
Yes.
Because I truly think that a lot of us stay out of the game, out of the fight, out of the race, because we don't necessarily have that person and that support. And as human beings, we all need it. We might seem like we're bad and big bad and like I can do this thing by myself, but we can't. And I totally know that. Okay, question. There are a lot of people who are, you know, have gotten knocked down. And what is the difference between being a victim and a victor? Because, you know, it's a fuzzy line. I don't want to perceive like, oh, you know, we talk about the victim and stuff like that, but there is such a difference as those, and you talk about that.
Well, you know, it's the same thing in what people articulate out of their mouths, because most people say false evidence appearing real. Why? How about face everything and, or, you know, let's do the things, because once you start to think differently, then there's a shift in how you actually go about something. So for me, victim and victor, here's the difference. I want to write a book. That's a victim. Okay, because, you know, I've got kids, I've got all of this. Well, that should be the reason why you want to write the book. So see, it's all about how can you get in there and you reach them at their spot.